Hey up, it's Steve from that old Yorkshire geek, and it's Friday, which means it's Rings of Power Day, and we're on season 1, episode 7, and it's called The Eye. I don't know why it's called The Eye, because we don't see The Eye in this episode. But anyway, let's just hit the intro, and then we can jump into the episode. I should really do a Lord of the Rings themed intro, shouldn't I? But, you know. So what? Right, so season 1, episode 7, The Eye. I quite enjoyed this episode, I must admit. You know, it started off and I was like, oh God, here we go. But as we will see when I start it up, it's okay, I don't mind it. I know there's people, you know, around that hate this series, but I haven't hated it. But it's not as good as House of the Dragon, not even a tenth as good as House of the Dragon, but I'm still enjoying it. Right, there we go. There's the Amazon logo. I think this is the old previously on, so we'll dispense with that. Remember Mount Doom erupted at the end of the last episode, and we saw Galadriel getting the pyroclastic cloud in her face, didn't we? So that's how it ended. Is that how it's? Are we going to see it here? There we go. There you go. That's how it ended last week. And we all went, yay, because she's bloody awful, isn't she? Anyway, so off we go. Intro music. There we go. And starts off, this is Galadriel in her with her Cheeto dust. And this is where I was immediately rolling my eyes. So she survived a pyroclastic flow in her face, you know, searing temperatures, you know, blasting wind or whatever happens in a pyroclastic flow, it's not good, is it? It destroys all in its path. Unless you're an elf. I mean, she wasn't even sheltered, was she? You know, you could say, oh, maybe, you know, other people have survived because they got to cover and they survived the initial, you know, blast from the flow. But she was just stood there, wasn't she? So maybe it's her elven armour that saved her. Oh, plot armour. So anyway, so there she is. Look, feeling sorry for herself. And I noticed on the subtitles when I was watching it, there was a lot of in this part breathing heavily. It said, you know, in brackets. And I'd be thinking in this atmosphere with all this ash blowing about and, you know, clinging to everything, breathing heavily would be the last thing you'd be doing, wouldn't it? You should have something over your face, really, shouldn't you? Put a cloth over your face to help you breathe, help filter out all the ash. But no, they don't bother with any of that. There we go. There's a horse on fire. Oh, there we saw that. There were a horse on fire. There's dead people. It's all very not nice. We see some people on fire as well as the horse. We hear people screaming and moaning, and then we hear Theo going, "Mother," with his deep voice. But he don't find his mother. She goes, over here. And obviously I said, you're not his mother, shut up. But her and Theo end up together. There you go. By the way, this episode was an hour and 12 minutes. That's 72 minutes. So it's a decent length, isn't it? So anyway, so he finds... this is Isildur and his friend. Is it Valandil? The one that made a lieutenant. He's trapped under this wood. And then Queen Miriel arrives. So she's okay. But she's not okay, as we will learn later. She arrives, so they're able to pull him out. And then there's the other friend, whose name I can't remember. The other of Isildur's friends. He's dead, so... Sorry about that. By the way, full spoilers. Full spoilers is going to be happening in this episode, obviously. Before we continue, don't forget, see, put them up there, look, on the top right, like, comment, share, subscribe. Thanks for watching and all that. And I've also added, as you can see, my Twitter, my Facebook, and my Instagram. So if you want to go look at what I get up to on social medias, there it is. Right, so where were we? Right, so Valandal's saved, they pull him out, but the other young fella, he is not saved, he is dead. And I was like giving it, there's a lot of, he's gone, or they've gone, or a lot of that in this episode. All right, they get people out of this burning building. It's about to collapse, and it seems as though it collapses onto Isildur, because we don't see him for the rest of the episode, and everybody's saying, where is he? Where's Isildur? So we think he's being killed, but obviously we know he's not being killed, because he's got to get the ring, hasn't he, at the beginning of Lord of the Rings. At the end of the Second Age, he's got to get the Ring of Power, hasn't he? So we know he's not dead, but something happens to him, we will see. But not in this episode. This is the penultimate episode, by the way. The last episode of the season finale is next week. Right, so we go to the wherever the Harfoots are. I didn't call them hobbits immediately. How bizarre. Anyway, they've arrived at a nice green glade. But it turns out it's not as green as they thought. And there's all burnt trees and stuff. And apparently, they must be close to Mordor. Sorry, the Southlands. Oh, that's another thing later on, by the way. They're close to the Southlands, where the volcano erupted, because they've said... Sadok Burrows says his father told him about mountains that spit rocks, flaming rocks and stuff. So it's obviously been hit by some fiery boulders that have been ejected from Mount Doom. It doesn't show us, but that's what we suggest. This is the stranger. They think he's trying to bring this tree back to life. So they say, well, let's see if he can help. Like he did with the wolves. Remember the wolves? He fought them off, didn't he, with his magic. So they try that, and it talks to the tree, and it starts shaking, and but apparently nothing happens apart from it breaks and nearly kills Norrie and her sister. There we go. So he's not happy about that. He's a bit sad about that, and they send him away then, because they think it's not worked. So they send him away. They don't say bugger off, but they just. Sadok says he gives him the like a parchment with he's looking for some stars into, and he tells him to go where there's some big folk that might be able to help him. Right, so that's that. Right, we're in what is it called? Khazad-dûm. We're in Khazad-dûm now with King Durin III, and he's having a meeting with Elrond and the Dwarf Lords and Durin, who becomes Durin IV, his son Durin. You see, he's got the leaf. Can you see that? Yeah, he's got the leaf there that were like corrupted by something, that's showing that the elves are dying. So he's looking at that, and Elrond's telling him if they mine the mithril for the elves will furnish them with meat and game and metal and all this amazing stuff for 500 years. And all of the dwarf lords are like, ooh, 500 years. But Durin the Third is having none of that. King Durin is having none of that. So he basically sends him away. He's not going to do it. So Prince Durin's upset about that. So he tells Elrond, and they end up having... See, she's not happy either. She's going to play a flute. I've not even seen that. I've just seen the memes. That woman on telly. I forgot her name. Lizzo or something. I don't know. Playing a flute or playing a Subway sandwich. I don't know. I've not even seen it. Just seen the memes. So she's saying that King Durin is, a silly old bugger, and they should get the mithril. They've got to save the elves, and if they save the elves, they'll save the dwarves. They're all connected and all that. It's like that. And we learn in this episode that Elrond and Prince Durin look upon each other as family, as brothers, and it gets a bit emotional later. And I must admit, I did get a bit of a lump in my throat, but that's easily done for me. I get teary-eyed and lip quivery at nothing. So he sends him away. There's in a teary farewell. I thought they were going to say namaste, but they say something else in Elvish. something beginning with nam, namairi or something. I thought we were going to go namaste. Thought they'd gone all Buddhist. But no, he sends him away. But then he gets the mithril back off Elrond, and he's upset. He's at the table, and he throws it across the table, and it lands near that leaf that's corrupted. Am I gonna land on the right bit? There we go. And we see, see if I can just play it a bit. That look, stuff's happening, and the leaf it heals. There we go. It heals because of the mithril. Look, they're all like, wow. So Prince Durin calls Elrond back. Right, cut back to the Southlands. That's obviously Galadriel and Theo. They're making their way to wherever. I don't know how they've got split up from the rest of the people, because everybody else is in like a train moving away. You know, the Númenóreans are helping the villagers get to an encampment that they've got. So I don't know how Galadriel and Theo have not ended up with those, but they're not. They're separate. So they're working their way through the ruined forests. And Galadriel's talking about killing orcs and how it's not necessarily a good thing. You know, it darkens your heart to kill things, even orcs. And then we find out he talks to her later, asking who she's lost to the orcs, and she says her brother, Finrod. And then she talks about her husband. People have been, online have been talking about, why does she never talk about her husband, Celeborn, who we saw in Lord of the Rings, when she's Lady Galadriel of wherever it is, the woods where she lives. I forgot what they call it now. Because I'm recording, I forget everything. So he's her husband there. Is he king or something? King Celeborn. Or the Lord Celeborn. Anyway, she thinks he's dead. He went off to fight in the war and never came back, and she never saw him again. So we'll learn that later. Right, so here we are. This is Elendil. See, these are the Númenóreans are helping the villagers and themselves, obviously, to get to the encampment that they've got. As you can see here, the air is getting better. They're moving away from, where the volcanoes erupted. And then it comes across Queen Miriel turns up with Valendil, the lieutenant, but there's no Isildur. Remember, they think he's been buried under a falling building. So he's like, "Where is my son?" There we go. And he asks, "Where is my son?" And I thought we were going to go and look for him, but then next scene, he's just helping the Queen, and we see the Queen. She's looking a bit wide-eyed, and then we find out later she's gone blind or partially blind. She could just see grey, apparently. So a bit of ash in her eyes, probably. A good eye bath, a bit of milk and magnesia, that'll clear it up. But no, anyway, we get to that bit in a minute. Yeah, they're all looking sad because Isildur is gone. Obviously he's not. He's just gone from the story temporarily. This is Theo and Galadriel trudging through the ruined forest. By the way, it's all very well shot, and $1 billion. You'd think so, wouldn't you? You'd think it'd look good, and it does. It does to me anyway. Although her armour still, on the close-ups of Galadriel's armour, it does look a bit cosplayy. It does look a lot like foam armour. I've made it myself for my cosplays. I've made things out of foam and stuff, and it does look a bit like that. Anyway, he's asking his Theo, what's it like to be a soldier? And she says, well, maybe we'll met one of you. So she gives him her sword, a nice elven sword. So she gives him that. He says, we'll make a soldier of you, maybe. So there we go. So here's the Queen Miriel of Numenor on a horse. And this is when we find out that she's gone blind, because she says, when will this smoke clear? And apparently it's cleared for quite a while. But she hadn't realised. That's when they find out she's blind. And she says, well, don't tell anybody. So I don't know why they can't tell anybody, but she says, don't tell anybody, and, we'll bluff his way through this. And then later on, you see with a bloody a bandana around her eyes, so she thinks she's Daredevil. So I think if she's that round her eyes, people would know she can't see, wouldn't they? But anyway, there we go. She's learning she can't see. That's a bit of an eye bath. That's all she needs. Right, what's this? This is back in the glade with the Harfoots, and he's leaving. He can't understand what's gone wrong. So he goes away, and as he's walking away, I better don't get on the thing. We see a little flower start to grow. See, I've gone too far. Am I gonna get to that bit? Probably not. There we go. As he's walking away, that's Sadok Burrows watching the stranger go. But as he's going, you see, we're focusing on the little flowers growing in the tree. And that's a portent of what is to come. So he sods off. There's the stranger. Is he Gandalf? Is he one of the other wizards? I don't know. I mean, he's more like, doing all this stuff with nature, he's a bit more like Radagast, isn't he? He was all the nature wizard, wasn't he? But I don't know. Don't look like Sylvester McCoy to me. Oh, she gives him an apple for his journey. I'm not sure about the scale in here. She gives him it, and I'm not sure. Her hand does look, quite a bit smaller than his, so I suppose they've got it right. Anyway. So, see, she's very teachy. Because she's a hobbit. Sorry, a Harfoot. Oh, I'm doing so well, wasn't I? Right, so he sods off. She sees him off, and I must admit, there is something about this actress. Don't ask me her name, I forgot, but she's got amazing eyes. She's got very expressive eyes and super pretty. I do think that. She's feeling. This episode kind of is about guilt and about feeling responsibility for what's happened. Galadriel feels responsible for what's happened to the Southlanders and the Númenóreans. Nori's feeling responsible for what happened to their, what's happened to them. Because she brought the stranger amongst them, and she thinks, it's been bad luck for them. But her mother's saying, no, it's not your fault. Right. So Galadriel and Theo, they're just having a rest for the night. They're going to set off again at first light. But some orcs, this is when she's telling him about Celeborn, by the way. Some orcs turn up in a minute. When we get there, and he's going to pull his sword out, but she stops him. It makes a kshing, and that noise must get the attention of the orcs, and they come and investigate. But obviously they don't engage them. It has a sniff as the orc. It says, "What do you smell? Nothing but ashes." See, I could be an orc, couldn't I? I'm ugly enough. So the orcs move on, so they're safe. That's when she says, we'll move on at first light. Right, back to Khazad-dûm. And Prince Durin and Elrond are digging for Mithril, and there's all rumblings and dust's falling and little stones. Oh, pardon me. And I know there's another tremor, and Elrond says, we should wait for the rocks to settle. Is that how it works? I don't know. Don't you use wooden beams and stuff to shore up, any digging that you're doing? Never mind waiting for the rocks to settle. They'll settle on your head, won't they? That's where they'll settle. Plus, he's telling, explaining to a dwarf how to dig. I don't think Prince Durin needs any, instruction in how to dig. He's a dwarf. And dwarfs like to diggy hole, don't they? Great song. Great song is that. Oh, I nearly sang it then. I nearly going through my head. I am a dwarf and I'm digging a hole. Diggy hole. Diggy hole. It is doing that anyway. Apparently it's from Minecraft, isn't it, that? I didn't know that, but I heard it, a heavy metal version of it by a band called Windrose. Look it up on YouTube. It's brilliant. Diggy Hole by Windrose. But originally it's a Minecraft song, apparently, that somebody sang on a video, a live stream or something. Anyway, so, this is Prince Durin's telling Elrond that Elrond's kind of ribbing him a bit because he's called Durin, his father's called Durin, and I think his grandfather were called Durin, and he's saying it's it's a tradition to honour the names of our forebears, and he says we do have other names, we have private names that we just use in family, and wives, sisters, and he says brothers, because obviously he sees him as a brother, and I think he's about to tell him his secret name, but then Elrond says save it for later. So that's what he does. Anyway, so they carry on digging, and then he digs through, as we will see, and then he finds the vein of Mithril. There we go, a little hole appears. They've gone too far. Let him have a look. Elrond has a look, and all wind's blowing, by the way, so there's quite a cavern back there. And there we go, we see the veins of Mithril. Remember, it was explained to us that there was a great tree, and there was a battle between a Balrog and somebody good, I can't remember who, and the battle that turned the tree roots into Mithril, and they grew down into the mountain, and that's how Mithril was formed. So that's that. So they think, there's loads of Mithril in there, and then he turns around, and King Durin's there. Can you see him there? He's there, look. King Durin's there, so he's not happy, and he says, seize the elf. So, here we go. Elrond gets thrown out of Khazad-dûm, and Prince Durin's not happy about that. And King Durin takes away... Prince Durin's got like a crest that he wears that shows that he's the prince. Must be like, show that he's the heir to the throne. And King Durin takes that off him and tells him it's not his anymore. So it's obviously going to go to his brother. He must have a brother. Don't know what his brother's called. Maybe he's called Durin as well. I don't know. So they have a falling out. So Prince Durin is no longer the heir to the throne of Khazad-dûm. But obviously he does become king because he becomes Durin the Fourth, but not today. So that's them having their falling out. Did. That's them telling him, leave it, it's not yours. I mean, we knew that. He didn't have to tell us that. They do a lot of that in this. In House of the Dragon, there's a lot of looks and glances, and it's not telling you what's going on, in so many words. You've got to work it out for yourself, and it works. But in this, they tell you, because it's, it's Bad Robot, innit? It's not officially Bad Robot, but the two showrunners are acolytes of J.J. Abrams, Bad Robot. They've come up through that school of filmmaking. So everything's to be, explained to you. It's on the nose, isn't it? That's a bit of a criticism. I'm not saying it's perfect. I do enjoy watching it, but I'm not saying it's perfect. Anyway, right, so next morning, Norrie and Poppy are in their little tent, I suppose you call it. And Norrie's eating an apple. Not Norrie. Poppy's eating an apple, and Norrie says, no, we've got to save them. Then she says, look outside. And she looks outside, and everything's green and lovely. Everything's wonderful. Look, there she is with her wondrous eyes. There you go. And apples are growing on the trees, and they are gathering them. So they think, yay, cool stuff's happening. It was the stranger that saved us. So then, what's she called now? I've just said her name, haven't I? Poppy. She's gathering water from the stream, this stream that's nearby, and she sees a big footprint, as we will see here. Why have they got these twigs and stuff in their hair, by the way? Is there a reason for it? I mean, they must replenish them, because they go all mouldy and dead, won't they? So they must find new twigs to put in, because they've never got mouldy, dead twigs in their hair. They're all lush and green. It's a fantasy, I suppose. Come on, get to this bloody footprint. There we go. There's a big footprint there. It's the footprint of a man by the looks, or a human, or a giant. I don't know what it is, but it's obviously it's that shape, isn't it? It's not a wolf or anything like that. So I don't know what it is. But then we hear like a whooshing noise or whatever, and when we look back up in a minute, Poppy's gone, and there's just a her little bucket floating. And I thought, oh, something's got Poppy. But then she just turns back up later on. I thought, oh, right, so she was all right. Anyway, right. So then night falls. Is that Poppy? I think it is. Or is that a sister? Okay, I don't know. But Poppy does turn up. Here we go. Here's the buxom witch elves. I don't know what they are. I don't know. Oh, I don't even know what they're called. But they're in white. We saw them last episode. Or the episode before. Anyway. The one with the one that looks like Eminem. I presume they're elves. I don't think we see their ears, but anyway, they've arrived and they see this tree, and one of them, it takes remember the little flower that grew her ear. They're quite buxom, aren't they? Look about they're about to sing like a Wagnerian opera, don't they? Anyway. To get that little flower that was growing on this tree, she plucks it and has a sniff of it and all that. And so they know he's been there. They must be able to sense his presence. And he points in something like that direction. But then Nori tells him he went the other way. And then she looks and they've gone. Then she turns around again and they're behind her. But then a dad, I forgot his name, says, go near her, hammer hair on her foot, and I'll brain you. And then this one, the Eminem one, just grabs hold of the torch, as we will see, and just extinguishes it with her hand. There you go. And then blows the embers away. And as that happens, the village bursts into flames. There we go. So I don't know if any die. It doesn't tell us if any of them die. They must all get out okay. Or maybe it's just the storage huts. I don't know. But they're all burning. So all the fruit and food that they've gathered is all lost, or mostly lost. And then these wicked people sod off. Right, we're back to the Numenorians, back to the Southlands. There they are. They've cleaned up their armour, obviously. Shouldn't it all be covered in dust and stuff? Obviously, they've washed themselves. Sorry, washed, not washed. See, if in Yorkshire, you wash yourself with water, but obviously wash themselves with water and tidy themselves up. They're having trouble. This is Isildur's horse. Is it Berek or something he's called? And they're having trouble with him. He obviously is a play on Aragorn's horse, isn't he? Who were very loyal to Aragorn. But I forgot. Was it Braegar or something like that, wasn't it? So he's obviously he's loyal to Isildur. I think it probably knows he's alive. It's going to do what they did in Lord of the Rings. It's going to go and find him and bring him back, in it, like Braegar did with Aragorn. That's what's going to happen. So they can't control him. He's all rearing up and whinnying and all that. And they said, they let him go. So he goes running off. There we see him running off. Look, in a minute. They're watching him. And he heads off across the the countryside. And it looks like a Roman camp, doesn't it? That or something from Asterix. Anyway. So, I forgot his name. Berek's gone off, and he'll come back with Isildur. He will. Next episode, he'll come back with Isildur. I have no doubt. Right, Theo arrives. He's arrived in the encampment. No sign of Galadriel, but she turns up. He goes into this tent. There must be a sign that says, medical tent or hospital or MASH on it. So he goes in there, and it's quite gruesome, I must admit. Quite a bit of blood about, and bloody bandages, and people with legs chopped off and stuff, and all that. And he's obviously looking for his mother. There we go. Bit of gore for you. Well, sort of. Bit of blood. A bloody stump. That's what we're wanting, isn't it? So he's looking for his mother. Anyway, she's there. He turns around, and she's there. There you go. So they are reunited. Oh, pardon me. I was thinking we're not going to see where they are until next episode. A bit like Isildur. And I was saying out loud to myself in an empty room that her and Arondir would be off somewhere. I actually thought, I bet they've got into some of them orc tunnels, after the water's gone, and that's how they've survived. But no, they're there. So, and there you go. He gives Arondir a big hug. So obviously they're friends now. I've been calling him Anakin, haven't I, Theo? Because of his mood swings he's got. But he seems to have calmed down a bit now. Still think he's going to turn bad. Right, here we go. Here's the Queen. Oh, can you see her there? Hang on, see if we can, it's not going to move, is it? I'll move this across a little bit. There you go. There she is with her blindfold on. So they were telling, don't tell anybody that I'm blind. All right, we'll just put a blindfold on you so you can't see. And then people would say, why is she wearing a blindfold? She's playing blind man's bluff. Or is it buff? I don't know. Never played it. Anyway, apparently the ships are getting ready, and they're getting ready to go back to Numenor. And then Galadriel turns up. He's angry, by the way, is Elendil, because he thinks he's lost his son. He says, I wish I'd left the elf in the sea. Remember, it was him that pulled it out off the raft earlier on in the season. Galadriel throws herself at the mercy of the Queen. I think she kneels down to her, I think. And she said, no one kneels in Numenor. She said, we're not in Numenor. Ha ha! Anyway, the Queen says, we will return. Numenor will return. And then she says, the elves will be ready. So there's that. That's her saying all that. Right, we're back with the Harfoots. Nori's feeling responsible. And the dad comes up and says, everything will be all right. And her mother says, don't say that to her. She says, well, no, I think everything will be all right. There, just Poppy's back, look. What? Did she just run off and leave her? She must have just run off when she saw that footprint and left a little bucket. I thought something had got her, but it hadn't. So she's there. Anyway, Nori decides she's going to leave. She's going to go find the stranger. She says, I'm going to help my friend. He deserves, help, because obviously them baddies are after him. So Poppy says, well, I'm going to go with you. And Nori's mother says, well, I'm going to go with her as well. And all the others, that Marva, that evil Marva that said they should leave them behind, let them die. She suddenly turns and says, she did the right thing in helping the stranger. So Sadok should go with them because he's a pathfinder or a wayfinder or something. So they're going to go and find the stranger. Right, so that's what they're doing. In a minute. I'll get there. Oh, and Sadok says, as they're going, he says, I'm going, but, we're all going to die anyway. And he don't, like, mutter it under his breath. He just says it aloud. Like, oh, yeah, great, You're supposed to be the leader at village. You're saying they're all going to die? Dickhead. Anyway, so they set off, and then we cut to another bit of scenery. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Is this actually, is this just a background plate and they're like on a green screen, or are they actually there on top of that mountain looking down with a CG boat added, probably? I don't know. It is very, very scenic. It's obviously New Zealand, isn't it? Anyway, they're saying, Alan Deer says, do you believe she will return? And Galadriel says, no, I am certain of it. And is this Bronwyn coming? Yeah, it is. Bronwyn comes, and they're heading to a small village or town or whatever, an old Numenorian settlement at the mouth of the Anduin, which is the Great River. So they can start again there. So that's what they're doing. And Galadriel says she's going to go and back to her king, so she's going to go see Gil-galad and try and talk him round, but we'll see what happens there. Oh, and then we find out what's happened to Halbrand all through the episode. I'm thinking, where's Halbrand? I'm thinking, has he shown his true colours and gone with the orcs? But no, he's here. He's being injured. And she has a look at his wound. She says, this needs elvish medicine. So, I mean, Bronwyn's a healer, isn't she? So, I suppose she's done what she can. But Galadriel says he needs elvish medicine. So they stick him on a horse. And they're all, everybody's cheering, saying, God save the king. They're not saying that, they're saying something else. But he gets on a horse. There we go. He's obviously fit enough to walk and ride a horse. It can't be that bad, can it? But she's obviously taking him to Lindon, to the capital of the elf realm. Lindon, a bit like London, isn't it? Which is the capital of the United Kingdom. Not very imaginative, that of you, J.R.R. Tolkien, but never mind. So they set off. I think that might be it, actually. They set off, and I think that's where I believe it. So they're all cheering, look, God save the king, or whatever they're saying. So off they go. They go galloping across the countryside. Oh no, we haven't done yet. This is Disa and Prince Durin, or is he Prince Durin anymore? I don't know, because he's not the heir, is he? He's been stripped of that. Anyway, she's saying, he's an old fool, he's the king, he's too old and too stuck in his ways, too scared to dig. And she's saying, this kingdom is going to be ours. She actually sounds a bit evil in this. She's saying the Mithril is ours, and you will be king and all that. We will rule this mountain together, you and me, like that. I thought, a bit ambitious, love. Anyway, that's that. And then we cut to, we see the King Durin. He's got that leaf, and he notices it's. Here we go. He notices it's healed as the leaf. Remember, we were looking at it earlier on, all corrupted and stuff. And he notices it's healed, but he thinks nothing of it, and he throws it through that little hole that they made earlier on. He throws it through there, so it comes fluttering down through the mithril, and then he says, seal it up. So they're going to seal up that hole. But the leaf comes fluttering down, as you see. There we go, there it goes, into this cave, and it lands on the floor in a minute. But then it catches fire, and then we hear a growling, and then we see the Balrog. There it is. The Balrog has a good roar. Looks very much like the Balrog in Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings. I'm sure there's some differences. I don't know, but it looks the same, doesn't it? So they were supposed to be saying because I think the description in the book, you could say it could look quite different. There are other depictions of the Balrog looking quite different to what we saw in Lord of the Rings, but they've obviously gone with that motif, haven't they? But they kept saying, it's not the same, it's not a prequel to Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings. It is. So we see the Balrog, there we go. We're here with, and it cuts to the Southlands. We see Adar and the Orcs, and Waldreg's there. And he's saying, Orc brothers, cast off your sun cloaks, they can, because of all the ash in the atmosphere, they don't have to hide from the sun. So he's saying that. And Waldreg says something like, the Southlands is yours. And Adar says, no, we're going to call it something else. It's not the Southlands anymore. And I was expecting him to say it, but he doesn't. We've got to wait for a caption. Because he looks towards Mount Doom. If I can, I better can't get on it. He looks towards Mount. Look, see, I've gone too far now. Look, he looks towards Mount Doom, and see, you've seen it now. So I spot the surprise, haven't I? There we go. It says the Southlands, and then that burns away to call it Mordor. There we go. So it's now Mordor. We all knew it was, didn't we? But it is now for deaths. And that's how the episode ends. Oh, look, second unit director Vic Armstrong. He's done James Bond films, hasn't he, Vic Armstrong? And that's how it ends. So the finale next week. It was quite a good episode. I quite enjoyed it. I must admit. I do have some problems with it, like just surviving a pyroclastic flow, fine. Plot armor aplenty. But it were interesting. Where's the stranger gone? Will they catch up with him? What's going to happen with Halbrand? He's obviously going to the elves, going to Lindon with Galadriel. So what's going to happen there? Obviously Adar's going to consolidate his hold on Mordor. Oh, I can't roll my eyes. So that's going to happen in the. I hope it's going to go out with a bang, by the way, this last episode, next week, the season finale. I hope it's going to be, I hope it's going to go out with a bang and a good cliffhanger for season 2. But we'll see. It should do, shouldn't it? I'm hoping we're going to find out who the stranger is. Are the rumours about Halbrand true? Because everybody's saying he's Sauron. Spoilers, if true. So we're going to find out that next week. I don't know. So we've got to wait a whole week. Oh, no. Anyway, so we'll leave it there. A good episode. I did enjoy it. I'd give this one a 7 out of 10. It were okay. There's no action in it, no fighting and stuff like we had last week. But it was still interesting. It was interesting stuff going on, in my opinion. And I mean, who are these weird elf witch people going after the stranger? I don't know. Will we find out that next week? I don't know. Where's Isildur? Is Beric going to find him? Yeah, of course he is. So that's a 7 out of 10. I'll give it. I did quite enjoy it. But it's not perfect. But what is? I don't hate it. It's fine. So we'll leave it there. So, wherever you are in Arda, look after each other. And until next time, I'll say this.